It is almost midnight and you are checking your bank app again. You already know what it is going to say. The number sits there, balance sliding the wrong way, and you cannot quite explain where it all went. A little here, a quiet tap there. Nothing that felt reckless in the moment. You promise yourself tomorrow is the day things finally change. Then tomorrow arrives and you do the exact same thing. Here is the truth nobody tells you. Overspending is not a character flaw. It is a stack of missing habits. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Picture two people, same salary, same kind of apartment, same stores. One is always a little behind, always bracing before payday, always surprised by the balance. The other one barely thinks about money at all, and somehow has a cushion quietly growing in the background. Neither one is gambling. Neither one inherited anything. The difference is a handful of small, almost invisible behaviors that work like brakes on a car. The person who keeps their money installed those brakes so long ago, they no longer notice them. The person who never gets ahead simply never installed them. So every impulse rolls straight through. And here is the part that should really land for you. People who seem disciplined with money are usually not gritting their teeth all day resisting temptation. They have simply arranged their lives so the temptation rarely reaches them, and when it does, something automatic slows it down before it ever turns into a charge. Willpower is exhausting and it runs out by the afternoon. Habits do not get tired, and they do not take days off. So today we are walking through 15 of these breaks. Small, unglamorous, and genuinely powerful. None of them require a higher income. Each one removes a little friction from your future while adding just enough friction to your spending to keep it honest. Number 1. Put a pause between wanting and buying. The average American spends close to $300 every single month on purchases they never planned to make. That is over $3,000 a year on things that were never on any list, never budgeted, and often forgotten within a week. And here is the part that should concern you. A large share of that spending is not even about the item. People reach for the checkout button when they are bored, stressed, or simply chasing a small hit of emotional relief. The purchase is a mood dressed up as a decision. The fix is almost embarrassingly simple. When you feel the urge to buy something that is not a true necessity, you wait. 1 full day for small things. 2 or 3 days for anything bigger. The want either survives that wait or it quietly dissolves. And you will be amazed how often it dissolves into absolutely nothing. Think about where that $3,000 a year could go instead. Redirected and invested at a normal long-term market return, that same money could grow into something north of $300,000 across a working lifetime. People who build real wealth are not immune to temptation. They have simply slipped a timer between the feeling and the purchase. And that timer does the heavy lifting they would otherwise have to do with willpower they do not always have. Number 2, pay yourself before you pay anyone else. Almost every household that struggles with money tells itself the same quiet lie. Save whatever is left at the end of the month. And somehow, month after month, nothing is ever left. This is not bad luck. Saving last guarantees saving nothing because spending behaves like a gas. It expands to fill whatever space you give it, so you flip the order entirely. The day your paycheck lands, a set amount moves into savings automatically before a single bill is paid and long before a single craving gets near it. Even 5% works to start. When that money vanishes from view before you can touch it, you quietly adjust your whole life to the smaller number and barely feel the loss. The people who get ahead are rarely out-earning everyone around them. They are simply taking their own cut first, treating their future self like the most important bill they pay, and then living comfortably on whatever remains. Number 3, make spending slightly harder than it should be. Entire companies have spent billions of dollars removing every speed bump between your impulse and your wallet. Saved cards, one-click checkout, stored addresses, payment by fingerprint or face. Each of those features shaves a few seconds off a purchase. And those few seconds happen to be exactly where your second thoughts used to live. They did not make buying easier by accident. They made it easier because friction kills sales and your hesitation is their lost revenue. So you put the friction back where it belongs. Delete your card details from your browser and your most used shopping apps. Log yourself out of the stores that tempt you, so signing back in becomes its own small obstacle. Move the shopping apps off your home screen and bury them in a folder. If buying something in a weak moment means digging a physical card out of a drawer and typing 16 digits by hand, a good chunk of your impulse purchases will quietly die somewhere around the 8th digit. That small inconvenience is not a punishment. It is a gift you are handing to the version of you who wakes up tomorrow, opens the app, and gets to feel relief instead of regret. Number 4. Know the real total of your subscriptions. Researchers asked Americans to estimate their monthly subscription spending. The average guess was around $86. When those same people were walked through their accounts line by line, the real number came out closer to $219. That is not a typo. Almost 9 out of 10 of us underestimate the total, and more than 4 in 10 are paying for at least one subscription they no longer use at all. $9.99 never feels like a real decision. 12 subscriptions at $9.99 is a car payment you forgot you signed up for. The habit that stops the bleed is a plain monthly audit. Once a month, you sit down with your statement and hunt for every recurring charge, including the ones hiding under company names you do not even recognize. Multiply each one by 12 so that little $9.99 reveals itself as $120 a year. Anything you have not genuinely used in the last few weeks gets canceled right then, while you are staring at it, before you can talk yourself into keeping it just in case. 5 uncomfortable minutes can quietly buy back more than $1,000 over the course of a year. If this is already making you think differently about where your money has been going, subscribe to this channel. I am John, and every week I break down the quiet mechanics behind why money stays for some people and disappears for others. Now let us keep going, because the habits coming up next are where things really start to shift. Number 5. Treat split payments like the debt they actually are. There is a checkout option now that quietly rewires the way your brain processes a price. Instead of seeing one number you have to reckon with, you are shown 4 small ones spread across a few weeks, and suddenly a purchase you could never have justified in full feels almost painless. More than half of people who use buy now, pay later plans admit those plans push them to spend more than they otherwise would have. Around 6 in 10 have used one to buy something they flat out could not afford. The typical user is now carrying close to $2,000 spread across these installments, often across more than one app at the same time. The habit that protects you is a firm personal rule. If you cannot buy it in a single payment today, you cannot afford it yet. Full stop. Splitting a price into 4 equal pieces does not make the thing 1 cent cheaper. It only arranges for the regret to arrive in installments long after the excitement has worn off, and the box is already shoved in the closet. Number 6. Cut the trigger before it ever gets the chance to fire. Most overspending does not begin with a decision. It begins with a notification. A flash sale email landing at the perfect lonely hour. A push alert dressed up as a favor. An advertisement that seems to know exactly what you have been thinking about. Because in a very real sense, it does. You cannot reliably out-willpower a system that was designed, tested, and refined by professionals whose entire job is to break your willpower. So you stop fighting on their terms and you cut the wire instead. Unsubscribe from every marketing email, even the ones that promise you are missing out on something rare. Turn off shopping notifications on your phone. Mute the deal alerts and the price drop reminders. And while you are at it, unfollow the accounts that exist mainly to make you want things. When the temptation simply never reaches your eyes, you do not need a single ounce of discipline to resist it. Because there is nothing there to resist. The cheapest purchase you will ever make in your entire life is the one you were never shown in the first place. Number 7. Spend the dangerous money in cash. Swiping a card feels like almost nothing. Tapping a phone against a reader feels like even less. And none of it is an accident. When dollars are abstract, just a number ticking down on a glowing screen, your brain barely registers the loss at all. There is no sting, no friction, no moment of hesitation to slow your hand. Researchers have watched people consistently spend more on a card than they ever would have spent paying with physical bills for the exact same items. So you bring the sting back on purpose. Take your most dangerous spending categories, the eating out, the late-night impulse buys, the little treats that quietly stack into hundreds of dollars by month end, and move them onto physical cash loaded with a fixed amount for the week. When the cash in the envelope is gone, the spending for that category is simply over. No overdraft to lean on, no rolling balance to push the pain into, no ugly surprise waiting at midnight. Watching real bills leave your hand brings back a feeling that tapping a screen had completely erased, and that small recovered sense of loss is honestly one of the most reliable breaks you will ever own. Number 8. Price things in hours of your life, not in dollars. A pair of shoes does not really cost $90. It costs whatever slice of your one and only life you had to trade away to earn that $90 after taxes. Figure out what you actually keep per hour once the government takes its share. Not the number your job lists on paper, but what truly lands in your pocket. Say that comes to $20 an hour. That $90 pair of shoes is now most of a full half day of your working life. A $60 dinner out is 3 hours of your labor handed across a counter. A $400 gadget is nearly a full week. Run that math a few times and the silly purchases start to feel almost physical. Because you are no longer trading abstract dollars. You are trading mornings, afternoons, and evenings you cannot get back at any price. Number 9. Move your emergency fund somewhere boring and just out of reach. Cash sitting in your everyday checking account is quietly begging to be spent. It is right there, visible every time you open the app, whispering that you have a little extra, that this one purchase will not really hurt anything. Move your savings, ideally 3 to 6 months of expenses, out of checking and into a separate high-yield savings account at a bank you do not log into every single day. That distance adds friction. The money is no longer one careless tap away from being gone. And here is the part most people leave sitting on the table. A solid high-yield savings account is paying around 4% a year right now. The national average at a traditional bank sits at about a third of 1%. Put $10,000 in each for a year. The high-yield account hands you roughly $400 for doing absolutely nothing. The big bank hands you $1. Same money, same safety, same instant access in a real emergency. One account is quietly working for you while you sleep. The other one is asleep itself, and your bank is the one earning on it instead of you. We are more than halfway through, and the next habits are honestly where the real distance between getting by and getting ahead is built. If you are finding value in this breakdown, hit subscribe and stay with me. I am John, and there is a lot more where this came from. Number 10. Keep a maybe later list instead of a full cart. When something catches your eye and it is clearly not a need, you do not buy it. But you also do not pretend you never wanted it, because pretending just makes the want grow louder. Instead, you write it down. A simple running note on your phone. Everything you almost bought in a weak moment. Then you let it sit in silence. For small things, give it 2 days. For anything large, give it 30. Most of those wants, left alone with no action, simply die on the page. And you will look back later genuinely puzzled that you ever felt the pull at all. The few that keep nagging at you even after weeks have passed are the ones that might actually be worth it. And by the time you decide, you have had a real chance to save for them properly instead of charging them in a single flash of weakness. Wanting something badly is not a reason to own it. Still wanting it a full month later, after the dopamine has long since faded, just might be. Number 11. Never walk into a store or open a website without a target. Wandering into a shop with no plan is a lot like wandering into a casino hoping to leave richer than you walked in. The entire environment has been carefully engineered, down to the layout, the lighting, the music, and the small tempting items waiting right at the register to quietly separate you from as much of your money as it possibly can. So the habit is simple. Decide what you are buying and roughly what you are willing to spend before you ever step through the door or tap the app open. A written list is a small promise you make to your future self. Anything not on the list does not get bought. It goes on the maybe later list instead, where it has to prove over the coming weeks whether you genuinely want it or whether it was just the bright lighting talking. Number 12. Name the feeling before you reach for your wallet. A surprising share of all spending is not really about the item being purchased at all. It is about a feeling being quietly managed. Boredom looking for a spark, stress looking for relief, loneliness looking for a small hit of connection, exhaustion, sadness, even celebration can all send a hand drifting toward the checkout button without any real decision being made. Before you buy anything, stop for one breath and ask yourself honestly what you are feeling in this exact moment. If the truthful answer is that you are tired, upset, bored, or simply numb and reaching for a little spark of anything at all, then the purchase is treating an emotion, not solving a problem. And simply naming that emotion out loud, even silently to yourself, tends to loosen its grip far more often than you would expect. A genuinely bad day is real, and it deserves care. It is just very rarely solved by a cardboard delivery box landing on your porch 2 days after the feeling has already passed. Number 13. Calculate the cost per use before any big purchase. People love to judge a purchase by the sticker price when the number that actually matters is the price divided by how many times the thing will realistically get used. A solid winter coat you wear 200 times over 5 years is cheap at almost any price. A specialty gadget you use enthusiastically twice and then abandon in a drawer is wildly expensive, even when you grabbed it on sale. And big purchases almost never arrive alone. They quietly drag an entire ecosystem of extra costs along behind them. A boat needs storage, insurance, fuel, and maintenance. A home gym needs flooring, ventilation, and an entire room you surrendered. Run the honest math before you commit. The true cost spread across every realistic use, plus every hidden expense the purchase will quietly trigger down the line. Number 14. Sweep the leftovers before you ever get the chance to spend them. Whatever happens to be sitting loose in your account at the end of a pay period tends to quietly disappear, and almost never toward anything you would be proud of. It just leaks out through the slow daily drip of a little more here and a little more there. The habit that catches it is automation finally working in your favor, instead of working for the bank. Set up a small automatic sweep, either a fixed transfer the day after payday, or a roundup that captures the spare change on every purchase, and it moves that leftover money into savings or a simple low-cost investment account, before your spending instincts even know it exists. Money that gets moved automatically gets kept. Money that sits around waiting on a human decision gets spent every single time. Because you are not actually more disciplined than your future self on a hard and tired day. You are just smart enough to remove the temptation before it gets the chance. Number 15. Look at your money on purpose. This is the habit that ties every single one of the others together, and it loops straight back to that midnight feeling we opened with. The dread you feel checking your balance late at night comes from one thing above all else: not knowing. Being ambushed by the consequences of your own choices because you spent days carefully avoiding the truth. So you replace the ambush with a routine. Once a week, 5 quiet minutes, you sit down and look at your accounts on purpose. Not in a spiral of panic, not at midnight after a rough day. A calm, scheduled, almost boring glance at what came in, what went out, and what is heading your way next. Check the balance. Scan the last week of charges for anything that surprises you. Look at what bills are coming before they hit. You cannot fix what you refuse to look at, and you cannot overspend nearly so easily when you know someone is actually watching, even when that someone is only you. There they are. 15 breaks you can install this week on the income you already have. A pause between wanting and buying. Paying yourself first. Adding friction to spending and cutting the triggers before they fire. Knowing your real subscription total. Treating split payments like debt. Spending the dangerous money in cash. Pricing things in hours of your life. Moving your savings somewhere that actually earns. Keeping a maybe later list. Walking in with a target. Naming the feeling. Calculating the true cost per use. Sweeping the leftovers before they vanish, and looking at your money on purpose once a week without drama. Not a single one of these depends on a raise that may never come. Every one of them is available to you right now on the income you already have. And the beauty of breaks is they keep working long after you stop thinking about them. Install them once and they quietly protect you on your best days and your worst ones alike.